Disjointed Productions.
Ready? Okay, so now it's recording. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Disjointed Podcast. I'm your host Dave Germain. With me this week is Derrick Blanton.
Hey!
He is Derrick Blanton. I met him as a stand-up comedian out here in Denver, and then he was for the past couple of years, man, has been heavily involved in the local political scene out here for the DNC or various candidates and stuff, but mostly for through the DNC.
Yeah, mostly Democrats.
Right. You you made a run for a congressional seat, right?
Senate. I was running for Senate for officially a year. Yeah.
Yep, for a year. So
I'm no longer, but I did for a year.
Oh yeah. Well, main reason why I enjoy having Derrick on the podcast, guys, is because I am painfully uninformed on so many things that's going on. Like, if this was a test for whether to keep your citizen status, I would have failed. I would have been booted out. So every now and then, I gotta ask Derrick to come over and be like, "So what's going on in Colorado?"
Well, I think you'll tell me better. I'm too close to it. So the thing is that you'll tell me what's going on, and then I'll have a different take or maybe no take on it at all.
Well, let's
because you might be more exposed to it than me.
Well, I would say, let's start back. We'll back up a little bit. About last year during the primaries, because I know you had been running, but then at one point you're like, all right, you kind of. It was weird, because your campaign was about to try to get as many other people to start running for these houses.
That's right, yeah.
And you had this thing where you're trying to get other candidates to sign on, in a bipartisan effort, to not take any corporate money when it comes from health insurance or pharmaceuticals and health insurance providers. Right?
Mainly, yeah, but I said not taking any corporate money. I said everybody needed to run for office.
Right.
If you didn't see people who represent your issues and you weren't going to take corporate money, then you should run for office. And I said I didn't care what party or any party. That was fun, man. I hadn't even thought about it. Actually, I got out of the race because I'd gone on tour out to Yuma, Fort Morgan, Sterling, with Bernard Douthat, who's running for treasurer, and Joe Salazar, who's running for attorney general. We went on a campaign trip out there.
Right.
And when we did, it went really great. Had a great time. Came back, and then Bernard lost his campaign manager about a month later and asked me to take over. He actually got another campaign manager, and they both asked me to take over, and that's when I dropped out.
Okay.
So I could just run his campaign.
It's pretty sneaky. No, I'm just kidding. Well, I remember because I kind of miss this podcast, man. You had that controlling the conversation.
Yeah. And now that you have a green screen and this stuff, you should start doing that. You should start interviewing these politicians. You haven't burned all the bridges preemptively, so you have the access.
There's no way they want to talk. They'll be like, there's how many people?
Oh, they want to talk to people who don't know what's going on. That's exactly what they want to talk to.
Really?
Because they don't think you'll ask any questions. They think you'll just be able to tell you whatever and get away with it.
So how's your day going? Good, cool. So what do you think about abortion?
Everyone, no, they'll love that. They'll love it. I've had friends tell me that I should get back into it. They're like, oh, you know so many more people. I'm like, yeah, but now everybody hates me, so no one's gonna come on my show.
I would have thought that more politicians would have started jumping on podcasts, but because when Obama was on Maron's podcast, I mean, granted that was a heavily controlled. There's Secret Service everywhere. There's a certain list of questions that he's allowed to talk to. And it was still a really good interview, but it was all about personal stuff. There was no political things on there, which I think everybody, one of the things that podcasts have done is that for the longest time, before the internet, guys, though it was thought that human beings only can take 7.5 minutes worth of any type of topic before something has to switch. That's the attention span, right? So, if you watch any of the old 80s sitcoms on Hulu or wherever you watch, old Happy Days and stuff, you'll notice they never stay on any one topic for more than 7 minutes.
No buzz had to go to commercial break.
Yeah, always had to go because that's where they sold ads. That's where they got the advertising and stuff, right? So for the longest time, even in movies, for the most part, 7 minutes. Very rare that you see a scene longer than 7 minutes.
Yeah, very true. Where they don't change settings, yeah.
Exactly. So when long-form entertainment, like when Netflix started coming, actually, Babylon 5, I think, was the first one. I mean, it was that cheesy sci-fi show, but the thing is that it had story arcs that went over many seasons, right? Or multiple story arcs. Actually, I won't say they were the first. Soap operas did it for a long time, but those were shorter. Still, once again, 7 minutes. Then shows like Battlestar Galactica, Firefly, all this other stuff. So then all the nerds really started liking this long-form media. That has spilled over into all types of drama, all types of genres.
Yeah, Doctor Who, Walking Dead, all that stuff.
Exactly. So there's the whole binge-watching aspect. And also, along with that, came podcasts where who the hell would have thought that, not on this show, but who would have thought that anybody would want to listen to a 3-hour-long conversation? Right? But Joe Rogan does that multiple times a week. And he gets people to listen, and he gets people to talk on this, right? So, on various topics. What's weird, however, though, is when they have a politician on there, and those sound bites, those talking points, those things only go on for about 2 to 7 minutes. Those things aren't built for a long-form conversation, and so it's kind of bizarre.
Have you heard of Brother Jeff?
No.
Brother Jeff is 5 Points News. He has Brother Jeff's Cultural Center and 5 Points. He interviews, I think it's 5 days a week. He has it's at least half-hour show. Facebook Live, maybe through another source as well. But he interviews politicians regularly and activists, anybody, absolutely anybody.
Right.
He even had he'll bring on internet trolls who are like trolling politicians, like, you're a criminal, you do all this criminal stuff. Bring them on his podcast and have them. At the end, I saw that he was with 2 of the legislators that he was always accused of skirting some laws or whatever, and they're all shaking hands or whatever. I didn't watch the actual podcast, but then like Bernard, my old candidate, was on it. I thought about asking him before. People have asked me if I thought about going on, and I'm like, sometimes I kind of think about it. I don't know. He's so legit. He's so legit that I almost don't want to go on until I'm legit. I don't consider myself legit enough to go up on there.
Well,
so
I think it's because you were way closer to a lot of just how just government works. You know, like for the most part, I'm look on TV and be like, okay, well, that's what's going on. All right, fair enough. But I don't know, you definitely have a mind for it, and it's such a bizarre time because this, I think, I would say the 90s was the beginning, obviously beginning of the internet when folks started to really get into it. But when like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook especially started, like everybody really started to feel like they had something to say, whether they did or not. That's my personal opinion, by the way, guys. Like somebody's pictures of dog and cat or their views on whatever might be very, very important. Just I honestly don't, I probably don't care about it. But that's like the fever really started to head on. I think we're starting to go into full-blown sickness yet, and then we're going to come out of it. We're going to break the fever, and then we'll learn how to adjust.
Maybe.
I'm hoping so. Well, not everybody's going to make it, but the idea of where, man, and this really, really sucks, but to even say this, like everybody has the right to have their opinion. I don't think everybody has the right to be heard. I think that's something that should be earned. You know what I mean? So, like, if somebody who formulates their opinion, puts thought into it, really, really works out the kinks and stuff, is willing to have it challenged and to readjust and stuff in order to kind of get their thought across, that I think has value to it. Going out just screaming at somebody to get attention, that not so much. You know what I mean? But
I mean, everybody has the right to do that, and everybody has, like, I think what you're saying is you don't have the right to be platformed, right? You don't have to give someone a platform. Like if you go yell out in the street, that's fine. If you go make your own website, like I think Alex Jones is the good example here.
Right.
Like he has there's this free speech argument that's popped up around it. It has nothing to do with free speech. It has to do with platforming. Just like what you said, you don't have the right to be heard, But you actually do. He can go make himself be heard, which he does. No one's stopping him from having a website. Maybe his website provider will cut him off at some point. But then he can go start his own in capitalist theory. He's got the money to go start his own website provider. He can make his own website and put it up there and get it on there all he wants. But
that's a weird slippery slope, isn't it? I mean, no, and I agree with that. But it's kind of trippy. It's kind of like free, like that is such a crazy, like, his freedom, I think, always has to be couched with responsibility, and the more and like the less responsibility that anyone takes for what the words that are coming out of their mouth, and just to be provocative for being provocative's own sake, you get in this really bizarre territory where I'm like, dude, now you're making me defend something that I don't want to defend just because, right? And then there's this other side to it where, like, there should be no defense for any type of hate speech, and I'm like, well, now you're making me defend hate speech because I can see where this other thing is going to go. Like, you know, and it's fucking bizarre.
I don't think this has played out too bad. I like how the Alex Jones, everything that's happened with Alex Jones, I think it's played out exactly how it should. I think he has he's not Daily Stormer level. They haven't Daily Stormered his website.
What was that?
Daily Stormer's the local hate group, white supremacists. They're only on the dark web, I guess.
Okay.
You can't just. I don't know. Maybe you can type it in. Can you type in Daily? I don't know if you should. It can. I've just heard allegedly it's a white supremacist hate group. No, that's not alleged. That's true. Yeah. But allegedly, you go on, they track your IP, stuff like that. So I don't know if you should go on it. But it's Daily Stormer. Allegedly, that is like their internet provider pulled it. Unlike Alex Jones, who still has a website. So I don't say anything wrong with it. Twitter's kicked him off. Facebook's kicked him off. That's cool. It's like you deleting the comments off someone comes comments on your video, you can delete it. No big deal. Now, if he gets his website pulled, and there's no provider that will put up InfoWars, and he doesn't have the money to start a service provider or web provider and put it up on his own website.
Then it was this weird censorship thing, though, right? I mean, you think
what's the censorship?
It's basically like I decided that somebody else decided, like, well, this came. Gosh, I forgot who was on what podcast, but he was talking about as far as like these social medias. They're private organizations, so they can do what it is that they want, but they're so unbelievably powerful and so intense. So should they be thought of as a utility that could be regulated by the government? So, because right now the freedom of speech does not apply to the biggest way to process information.
I'm pretty sure that we covered this a long time ago.
Right.
In one of our first podcasts, one of the first ones, I had talked about at some point. I know I have talked about starting our own public internet and public social media. That's associated.
Did that, right?
I think there's been over 10 municipalities in Colorado. So in Colorado, you have to pass a law that allows your municipality to explore creating this utility, which would be a public internet utility. Chattanooga has free public Wi-Fi. Totally something I've been wanting to get on board, and I think there's an exploratory committee for a ballot measure to do it here in Denver. But they have to get exempted from this rule. And so that's the first step. But yeah, I talked about it with you, was starting our own internet where we all have free internet, we pay into it. And then we also have a social media that's attached to something tangible that is actually you. And so it's like, it's your open social media. You can say what you want, and it's a public utility. Everyone's talking about taking over, Apple's trying to break in right now with their software update of
You know, I know
Skynet.
You're on this computer, Apple. What are you doing?
But, I mean, everyone's talking about, should we regulate Facebook or regulate Twitter on this and maybe take them over or something like that? No, I love it. Private companies, I have my own take regarding capitalism entirely, because I actually do think that if he wasn't able to afford to get his hate speech out there, that we would be impeding his right. But under capitalism, you have the money, bucko. Yeah. You gotta spend that money to get it out there. So I don't feel bad for him one bit because he defends it on his program.
Yeah,
he defends capitalism to the death.
Right.
So I'm very happy with what's happening to him. And if it got to that point, I would still be happy. But we know what we should do in the meantime is start our own internet, start our own public social media where you can say whatever you want. And, I mean, not whatever. I mean, you can say it. There'll have consequences to what you say. Oh, yeah. But, I mean, you'll have the right to say what you want, even if it's hate speech.
Yeah. See, that was one of my favorite mics that and I'm sure it'll start up again. It was on Saturday night. Pete Cohen's mic. And Pete and
I love Pete.
Yeah. It was the wrongest joke mic.
Oh, yeah.
And so the goal was to create the wrongest joke that you could think of, and you win the bar tab, right? And Peter, who is a very, very lovable guy, but when he gets kind of nutso sometimes, you're like, whoa, what's going on, buddy? You know, somebody needs to give this dude a hug because it's okay.
Bring it in, Pete.
Bring it in, Pete. But he said the most profound thing at the beginning of any mic that I've heard, and he was like, I will not censor you, but I will not defend you either.
Yeah.
So, and when he let me host one night, I said the same thing. I was like, we will not censor you here, but we will not defend you. If you want to drop an N-bomb, you're more than welcome to, but if somebody wants to come and beat the crap out of you for it, I hope you're prepared. All right? So that's how free
speech
sucks
that we have to preface it with that.
Well, it's weird. It's the like I totally believe in free speech, but man, like
But why did people want? I took an ex to open mic Mutiny a long time ago. I saw you there actually that night.
Okay, yeah.
You were walking around. You didn't see the side, I don't think. There's some jughead there, goatee face, talking about just about what a bitch his wife is, and then his buddy was this little like half Latino guy who was talking about how dark he was, that he could say the N-word. So he was. And I don't think you were sitting through that, but me and my ex were, and she was looking at me like, why the hell do you come to this? And I was just like, there's good ones if you wait long enough. But yeah, you have to wait through the guy who's like, I wish I killed my wife. And you're like, God damn, why are you here?
There's pretty groan-worthy stuff, and I won't say this applies to everybody because I'm just talking about like when it comes to comedy, that sometimes you have to go in a really wrong, bad direction to find the right kind of funny.
True.
And that is the fucking painful. That's part of the work. That's part of the stuff that nobody's going to thank you for. Nobody's going to thank you, but like, dude, I'm really glad that you really talked about domestic violence in a way that was really offensive. I mean, 6 months down from the road, you know, like I remember 6 months ago, I freaking hated you. You said some horrible stuff that sent me to the shrink. But now that I hear that joke and how awesome it is, thank you. Nobody's ever going to say that.
Right.
If they hear the joke and they're like, oh, that's freaking great, I'm like, you don't know what it took.
Yeah, you don't know how many times people got angry at me for that coming out wrong.
That's at an open mic where it's a very, very small captive audience. That's like, if I was doing open mics on the internet with like 30,000 people watching, which that'll never happen, but like, then that would be like, dude, you really should not be doing that. That is irresponsible.
Yeah, anybody who's like open internet live stream, anybody starts live streaming their mics is an irresponsible person who needs to be stopped.
Totally. We're like, you never know what they're going to say, man. There's a lot of dudes who just started comedy. They're like, you know what? I think a joke or a story about me wanting to have sex with children will be really funny, but I'm like, dude, first of all, it never is. And I've sat through a couple of those.
Oh, God.
Dude, I was in Phoenix
oh, boy.
I went to this open mic. Though it was a showcase and there was an open mic afterwards, and it didn't matter because everybody cleared out after the showcase. But the guy that went on in front of me, I legit was contemplating taking a bar stool and beating this guy's head in.
Yeah?
Like, I was really thinking about it. I'm like, how much money do I... And I'm going through the whole thing where I'm like, okay, shit's about to get violent, because it's not like he was some young kid. He was an older dude. And he was, oh my God, the thing that pissed me off so much, he was like, it's not my fault that I get turned, that, you know, you dress your daughter, your 8-year-old daughter in a bikini, and I find it attractive. That turns me on. I'm like, what? God damn, why are you doing this? Because I'm like, you're not trying to be funny.
No,
you're not,
no.
You know, and I'm like, it just, to me,
you're
I'm
not
like,
trying to be funny.
Everything about this.
That's the key there.
Yeah, exactly.
At some point, you can tolerate the really awful ones because you know that it's therapy for them.
Right.
But then it's like that feels like that guy was just there he existed just to ruin the next person's set.
Yeah, which was mine, by the way.
Oh, good God.
That was mine.
What a piece of shit.
Yeah, it was kind of like, listen, like, I've dealt with incidents and stuff when I was a kid. My wife was through a lot of abuse. So I can kind of spot both her and I, like, if we see somebody, we're like, oh, you can spot a predator. I can fucking spot a predator. Well, most of them, not all of them, because they're sneaky. That's what predators do. But part of me was like, this guy needs to be stopped.
Right. Oh,
I can't prove it, though. That's the only thing. If I was, I'd be like, hold on for a second, guys. We got way off topic. But we were talking about, like Alex Jones. Like, yeah, it's this weird thing. But I think what troubles me is when I hear, like, free speech, hate speech isn't free speech. Which I don't like hearing hate speech either. I'm not a fan of it. But because when I was a kid, the censorship about what you were allowed to talk about, weren't allowed to talk about, it was different topics, but it was the same type of to me. It feels like the same type of energy. Like for me, it was like growing up in the churches that we would go to. There's certain things you are never allowed to talk about. You're never allowed to question. You're never allowed to try, anything that's written in the Bible and stuff. Well, like, what about my friend that's gay? Does that mean I have to stop talking to him? Like, this is what the rules is. This is what it is. You don't question it. You're not allowed to talk to that person anymore, right? I feel that same type of energy, but it's for causes that I believe in. Where I'm like, I'm trying to find a good example because I feel like I'm being very vague right now. If you question anything when it comes to, and I'm not sure, this is how it feels on my side from a guy who's not in the scene at all. If you question things about, like, gender politics, things like that, then there's certain these rails where, like, you are not allowed to talk about this. This is what it is, and that I think that's the part that kind of turns me off to a little bit of, like, wanting to get on anybody's, join anybody's cause, because I feel like that righteousness is such a dangerous emotion. Any time that humanity has ever did any atrocity towards themselves or other people, that emotion of righteousness is always right there with them. And it's so crazy because you need that in order to get things done, but that could lead you in a really, really bad direction at the same time. And I guess I like your idea of having a public internet, not in replace of Facebook, but in addition, like...
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let Facebook have it. I think my idea for a public internet, I think, is way better than having videos pop up in the middle of your video.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or having things upvoted based on how many people organically see it. Like, working in politics, fuck with getting people's marketing out there, especially on Facebook, and getting people to see something thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of times is directly correlated to how much money you have. Wow. It wouldn't be great if it was just how popular it is and not how much money you have behind it to get it out there.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. Like, I've had, granted this is going to be because my show sucked, but I remember occasionally, depending on who I have on, I would see like 15 to 20 was the average of the first couple of days. Every now and then I get somebody who would shoot up to like 200, 300. I'm like, oh, wow, that's really cool. I wonder if they have a lot of friends or if I just got caught on to a particular algorithm. But it's been pretty steady at 20 lately. So I've been trying to figure out how a way to get around that without having to throw money into it. But like Facebook and Twitter, like they got many people, I think, working around the clock to make sure that doesn't happen.
Inundation is the only substitute. Inundation is the only substitute for money. And, I mean, the more people you have for inundation... Volunteers is the only... It's politics and marketing is the same. One of the same. Politics, marketing, comedy. You doing a great comedy show, you can go down and you can get all your friends to come down, and you can record it, and you can make the best thing ever. And if you just keep it sitting under your DVD player, no one's ever going to see it. You just show people come over. Oh, man, Dave, that's a great thing. But until you can go take it to NBC, look at this great thing I have. The only way you're ever going to get there is some working relationship you already had, which would have involved you having hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, or knowing someone who does. You know what I mean? So it's all about connections, and it all works. It's all this bullshit, and capitalism works the same fucking way.
Yeah.
Is networking, hard work, or having a lot of money?
Right.
Or luck.
It could be that too, right?
Every once in a great while. Inheritance. Same thing.
Oh, jeez.
Even in pro freaking wrestling, works the same way.
How do you figure?
It all works through capitalism. Right. Go ask Nick Gossert for a job. I did once.
Yeah.
You know what he told me? He said, fuck off. He said, well, I was hoping he'd be like, yeah, we need someone to work the merch table or something.
Yeah.
But I guess I'd already someone cover. He's like, pro wrestling's like, you bring the money, like, go make some fucking shirts for one of these wrestlers and promote them and get some money coming in. Like, he's not going to make that for you. Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's how it works with all this stuff, with whether politics or pro wrestling or any business.
Yeah, he
it's
was
all
on
bullshit.
2 weeks ago.
I love that guy.
Yeah, it took me a bit to figure out that there's a lot of things that he's really, really good at finding that one little nerve and shooting an arrow right at it, and you just like, oh, like, fuck off, man. But I'm like, no, I get why he said it. Yeah, he's not wrong.
I think I have to go back and listen to that. I love him.
Oh, yeah, no, he's great. He's always been really nice about coming on the show and just dropping science and stuff. So it's, yeah, that's. I think the reason why like comedians like love listening to pro wrestling podcasts is because there's so many parallels.
There are
way more. They're way better at promoting than most comedians out here. You know,
it's just comedy of working out.
Yeah,
I mean that's how I went from I never got involved in pro wrestling. I still want to this freaking day. I'd do anything, give my left nut to get into pro wrestling, but because that's all politics is now. Because now they just the bridge has been gapped, but the bridge has been gapped. But comedy and politics no different. Works the same way. Yeah. And so when I did wrestling or when I did fighting out in Kentucky, we worked out the same places as wrestlers. And then when I come out here and did comedy, well, I did comedy in Nashville too, but came out here, wrestlers and comedians cross over a lot more out here than they did out in Nashville. Nashville, you could go hang out with the guys from Total Nonstop Action Wrestling. Those freaking carnies. Right. They're goofballs. Jeremy Borash, I was friends with. He'd go to Chili's, so I'd hang out with him every once in a while.
Oh, that's funny.
But, yeah, like, there's so much crossover and all these things. And now, of course, the ultimate politics in wrestling, in which Donald Trump, who's been involved in wrestling since the 80s, is now president with Linda McMahon in the goddamn cabinet.
Right.
So...
You know, it's so funny, like, I think Rogan said it best when he was like, this is what happens when you have a popularity contest to see who controls the nukes.
Yeah.
Yep, okay, yep, this is, we're fucking it up, all right.
I mean, it's entertaining. You know, I remember when my roommate ran for Senate, he had said he wanted to be a reality star. That we should turn this into reality TV. We should stream all of our political meetings. We had thought about that. We thought about, like, if you got elected, how could we have everybody have complete access? I know there's an app now where people are trying to get legislators to use, where your constituents actually vote on the issue, and you just vote that way.
I really think that is super, super important to have a real...
I think that's good. At the same time, the reality star thing, bad. We're learning that's bad. Why would we do that? Why would we turn politics into reality TV or wrestling or something in that?
Yeah, well...
It's a bad idea.
I think... And I was thinking about this the other day because I'm trying to come up with a... kind of a business plan idea for the company that I work for now, because there's a lot of things that I think they do really, really well, but there's a couple of really major shortcomings that I think they have. So I actually got this idea from Crawford, where it was a bit that he was working on, where he was like, I wish people in other walks of life could experience what comedians experience when they bomb. So when you did something really horrible and you need to fix it, right? You need to work at it. You need to adjust and stuff like that, right? So my idea was, I think there's a lot of people in the corporate level, they don't feel that bombing, really painful sensation when they do something or give stupid direction, and they don't take the full brunt of what the fallout of their choices. So it's kind of
I really can't give very many examples, especially in a money-making business kind of world. I can't give any examples of you feeling that type of bad without losing your job.
Right.
In sports, I guess the closest thing I could give is if you're an individual sport, like wrestling or fighting in the case I'm thinking of, and you think you're really good, and you go against it, and you've bragged or something.
Yeah.
But even in comedy, you don't even brag, you know? But I guess going up there in itself is bragging that you think that you're
But we're also
worthy of being heard. Maybe that's where I'm getting it.
That could be.
Maybe because that feeling is very unmatchable. I feel like I have been beaten in fighting before, where I was like, I'm gonna go up and practice and own this guy, and I acted like I was so good and got just slosh, Right. And it's the same feeling, but I don't know what it is. That just going on stage and having this confidence somehow equals that.
Well, I think there's
in my head.
There's those things I think the comedy and fighting have in common is that we know that failure is part of the process. Like, I think the only time when fighters really, really, truly lose is when they give up after a fight. Like, there's whether it's in the middle of a match or like as much. I still hope that she would make a triumphant. I guess she's doing really well in WWE right now because I haven't been watching. But Ronda
Rousey?
Yeah, I really was a big fan of her. The part that I was really bummed out, and I'm never going to be in her position, so I don't know what she was going through. But so I'm not trying to talk shit. But when she lost that first time, that she kind of just shut off, and she stopped acting like a champion. She stopped acting the way that she had been before. So I could tell that she was really, really hurt. And I felt really bad for her. But that's kind of like maybe from the wrestling thing. You're like they're down and they're about to drop their hand for the third time. You want to just see them come back up and be like, no,
right,
right. And come back up like I'm still going to be here. Like the good example was McGregor the first time he lost to Diaz, and they're interviewing him as he's going down the escalator. And they're like, so after coming off of this really bad loss, what's your plan? He's like, I'm going to go down to the bar, I'm going to have a drink and celebrate adversity. I'm going to come back, I'm going to learn from it. And that, I think, what he won over a lot of people. Because they're like, yeah, the guy talks mad shit. But when he loses, he was like, nope, this is okay. I'm not going to blame anybody else. This is what I'm going to work on. I'm going to go back. So it would be, and comedians, man, we've done that where you bomb and you're like, all right, I believe in that bit. I know I got to go back and do the drawing board and come back again. It would be, I'm always thinking, how do I get, that's what the whole business plan of the project was, is to try to get that and to show that there's folks in this other field. I'm like, yes, it's going to hurt, but you are going to make something so much stronger if you open yourself up to this. Not every one of you is going to make it.
Right.
Not everyone's going to. That's capitalism, right? Not everybody's going to succeed, but if you're willing to humble yourself and accept the fact that you've made a bad decision or that you failed and you learn from it and you come back for it, I think people will respect you a lot more for that,
See, comedies, so there is a capitalism to comedy, but the comedy scene isn't, like, people failing at comedy is more so them not finding community within comedy. You know what I mean? Like, if you go on and put on a great show, I remember there's that religious zealot dude, Kevin, maybe his name was.
Oh, yeah.
That dude didn't last too long, did he? I mean, he was around for a while for a freaking bigot.
I think he's still doing it. As a matter of fact,
he doesn't host a show, though, does he?
No.
I was going to say, he used to host a show, I'm pretty sure.
Well, what's the weirdest thing is like, I didn't, his and I'm not talking shit on Kevin Bennett, which I know is just strange for the Denver comedy scene. I like his act. I think
he's made me laugh before.
Yeah, it's made me laugh. I think it fits better in a Ren Fair than it does at a I think both ways and stuff. Like, I couldn't do my act in a Ren Fair or anything like that. I think his would fit really well, and he could probably do really well with that. Did you see him on America's Got Talent?
No, I did not. Jesus Christ, he's on that?
Yeah. So, and this will segue into what we're going to be talking about here in a second. Let's see. What was so funny, the comment that I put on there, because, let's see. I didn't even know about this until D-Rod, David Rodriguez from up at Fort Collins, posted. He's like, listen, if you guys get an email or a message saying that Kevin Bennett was on America's Got Talent, don't open it because he was. That was just David being funny. So,
he did the pirate shit.
He did the pirate shit. Now,
French
accent. Right?
Yep, I've seen this at the Lions Lair.
Fast travel light and fast. Pixelbook helps with that. The harder situations that I get myself into end up being the best shots.
All right, fuck your ad. All right.
Oh, he's getting pumped.
what's going down in Chinatown? Am I starting or are you starting? Who's going first?
Should Triumph the Insult Comic Dog?
Francois, Raphael, Edgar, Norbert, Celestine, Herbert, Absent, Lon, Corentin, Clement, Emmanuel, Nathaniel, Tellus 4. The initials of which spell French accent. You see what I... All right.
Okay, where are you from?
Wyoming, obviously.
And how old are you?
30, and very single, ladies.
Okay. Well, there's $1 million up for grabs here, French.
He didn't win $1
Yeah,
million,
I'm
right?
just happy to be here.
Thank fucking
All right,
God.
Good luck.
Are we ready? All
That
right.
might make me
All
believe in
right.
God,
Here
Kevin
we go.
Bennett.
My name is French accent. I'm doing one-liners and puns. For example, I had a girlfriend named Ruth, but then she broke up with me. So now I am ruthless. I ain't even got started yet. But it's all right. As it says in the Bible, you reap what you sow. She hooked up with a guy named Doug.
I thought Howie Mandel was afraid of germs. You know there's germs in that fucking beard.
Trolls the fucking Spice Girl.
And that joke is pointless. If you ever meet a girl named Grace, though, don't go dancing with her. Very soon you'll find out she is... clumsy.
That was weird.
Well, this is going over like gangbusters. Heidi didn't like that one either. I'm doing just great here. I live in an RV with 2 cats, and I'd like to change that. I lied. There's only 1 cat. I had to give the other back. I stole it. I'm a cat burglar. All right. All right, my name is French accent, and I was gonna do some more time for you, but I've got 3 X's, and my self-esteem is very low right now.
That's funny.
The audience is liking me, you two. I don't know. Yeah, listen,
Wrong.
all right?
As Trump would say,
Yeah,
wrong.
I'm freaking hilarious.
So he actually ended up getting 2 of those X's taken away
Oh, did he?
and passing off of that. So that one.
I'm so glad I don't watch network TV. Dear God.
So this is my feeling on that. That here, let me stop that because we're gonna get back to that in a second. I've never got into. I don't think I'm friends with him on Facebook. I've heard many people talk because he gets super religious zealot and everything, and he gets very combative with people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, that was a good set though.
What? You thought that was a good set?
I thought it was entertaining. People were laughing. I thought for what it is, like I wouldn't compare it to like Bill Burr or anything.
His
like
whole
that,
fucking
but-
Bapa da Boopy shit.
Yeah.
He's not even a good French accent. He's somewhere between Triumph the Insult Comic Dog and fucking some Italian Bapa da Boopy thing. Like,
I know.
he's not good. I'm not going to say that wasn't good, okay? I'm going to say he has made me laugh one time so hard it's great for bar. It's a great bar act.
And keep in mind, guys, we have seen him many times at many open mics and everything. So if you saw him for the first... I'm trying to imagine if I would have saw that for the first time, you know...
At an open mic, I would think that was awesome.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that's exactly what it was. And I thought, like, but what was so funny about it, I already X'd it out, but seeing all the upvotes, because people like, because he hung in there and then he got 2 of those X's taken away. And I'm like, okay, that was a good segment. As far as TV goes, that was good TV.
I mean,
Now,
yeah. I have no doubt that's good TV.
Right. So, but it was so funny because I'm like...
You could sell oil to that.
Yeah.
I have no doubt you could sell insurance to that set every day of the week.
More than likely, because people are like, oh, you know.
Every 7 minutes.
But the moment after I saw
he had
that
3,
on Facebook, right, then I was like, I went to YouTube, and I'm like, I wonder how many downvotes this got. There was like a couple of thousand upvotes for it, right? Mm-hmm. And then I'm pretty sure all the downvotes, which was about 65 to 80 of them, I can't remember.
Are all Denver comics. Every hater in town. Fuck you, Kevin.
Yeah, I know.
Your success.
I'm like, listen, I don't care for like the guy. I don't even know what his views are or anything like that. But I'm like, that was a good set. If you're just gonna judge it just like that.
Fuck that. I disagree with that good set bullshit. I mean, for network TV, sure.
Yeah.
For funny comedy. No.
But that was the part that I thought was hilarious. I'm like, I'm pretty sure all these downvotes are directly from the
Yes,
scene,
they all
which kind of leads to that whole thing where, like, hey man, sometimes there's a time to stand up for what you believe in, and then there's the other time of just shoving it in people's faces.
Oh, yeah.
And eventually there's going to be a backlash for it.
I'm just like, so I have about 5,000 people following me on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And I got an email from a family member saying the subject was something to the effect of, like,
Fuck this guy.
please don't try to correct the views of your family members or something on Facebook.
Uh-huh.
And I knew, like, I didn't see the whole thing, but I knew that's what it was alluding to.
Uh-huh.
So I was like, oh, well, I don't try to do that at all. I just deleted it. Because if I see you post hateful shit about anybody,
Uh-huh.
I'm going to just say something just in support of that person. In most cases, there's a certain number of limited categories of people I'm just not going to take the time in defending.
Right.
But most of the time, I'll at least just say something about how ignorant your fucking hate is. And the most recent one, I'm sure this was referring to, was this was supposed to be in support of Christians,
Right.
but it was 3 other religions. It was an Islam, fucking whatever, Buddhist, and one other religion saying, explore your mind, like, look beyond our text for more information, do not be limited to this, were those 3 quotes.
Yeah.
And then in the bottom it was like something completely unrelated that was like, yeah, and all of them, their God never rose in 4 days or something, or whatever the fuck it was. I'm like, what? I was like, how? These 3 just said, explore your mind beyond what we limited you to. This one is saying, no, we are all found here.
Yeah.
Every information stops and goes and is created through us. And this was shared as a positive. And all I pointed out was that. Just those 3 tell you this. This one tells you this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, if I'm friends with you on Facebook, I don't care. If your family is close, the closer you are to me, the more likely I am to just point out that your hate is fucking bullshit.
Right.
And I'm not going to be mean about it. I'm not going to try to convert you, because it's not about you. If, Dave, you say something really awful or hateful on Facebook, and I comment something on it, I'm probably not trying to convert you. I'm trying to...
You're like, hey, dude.
I'm probably just trying to let anybody who sees your hate and feels hated that's fucking bullshit.
Right.
And that there's other people who don't think that.
That's why I don't post all my opinions on Facebook. Because I'm like, this isn't going to come
There's
off
plenty of things you can hate. Hate has done a lot of great things. You can ask Doug Stanhope.
Yeah.
But if you're just going to randomly hate people that you don't know, I'm
Yeah.
probably going to say something nice about them.
The only reason why I try not to do that is because I remember the time when I was super ignorant about other races and cultures, but thought I was all open and progressive, and found out that I wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so that was something I worked on correcting and everything. But I also know that the reason why I grew as a person was through the love and compassion and patience of a lot of people from different cultures around me. Kind of helping me and stuff. They're like, I could, some folks, because I know the moment you lash out at somebody, they're going to get defensive. That's what people do.
And see,
know?
you don't have to have an opinion about anything to just be nice. And when you see somebody just being a dick, you don't
Yeah.
even have to have an opinion about Islam or
Yeah.
whatever. Like, you could think whatever you want about whatever about Islam. Because I'm an atheist, I think bad about all your religions and weird beliefs. I think you're all dumb. I'm the only smart one with my atheist beliefs. But I will not just let you talk shit on people who fucking you don't know. Because I know a lot of fucking people. I knock on a lot of doors.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people who ain't never paid their taxes. I know people who have committed murder and have gone to jail for it or prison for it and sat through, and I know them personally. I know people who've done awful things. I know there's some of the richest people and nicest people in this city. I know everybody individually, and fuck, if you're going to say something bad about some group of people, I know you're fucking wrong.
That's it seems to be the lowest common denominator, is to just pull like the bigger the group, the bigger the group I think anybody blames, the more rage and anger and less actual well thought out things are. So if you start blaming, let's say, all men or all women, or
Like you got it down in half.
Yeah, so like, oh, that's half of the planet, so all the half of the planet is responsible for your life being shitty. Is that it? You know, and so I don't know. It's tough to try to make fun of.
It's
these
also
things.
where you're going to get, well, it's going to get the largest group that you can defend, but also the largest group, you're also going to include, like, get the worst opinions of that coming back.
Yeah.
So, like, you criticize all men, you're going to get a lot of the worst men coming to the defense of all men. Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
That's going to be bad.
You're like, dude, listen.
Yeah, so that's just going to make it look even worse.
Yeah, I know. Even trying to get everybody to agree on it, we're like, listen, there is a difference in pay. There's things that definitely have to be worked on. What about divorce attorneys? I'm like, no. Justice system when it comes to divorce and child thing, obviously things there. But that doesn't... You're now comparing apples and fucking child support.
You know,
like,
I feel like there's an algorithm, like something like that somehow the larger the group of people, or the smaller the group of people that you can generalize, probably the less amount of people. This is a thought experiment. I might be totally wrong. Maybe you'll call me out and say this is bullshit, but I'm throwing this out there.
Okay.
The lower the amount of people are in a group that you're generalizing, chances are that group is probably not that great of a group. That they're not the greatest people. So, like, when you stop at, like, fascists, there are a lot of fascists, right? But there might be a couple good ones that, like, can be converted to, like, yeah, they want to do alt supremacy and all that, but they just want to quietly not push it, right?
Yeah.
Like, I keep my fascism to myself. I don't try to legalize it. Like, kind of make it law.
Like, oh, well, I can't change your...
Right.
I can't force you to do that, but I can...
Right? So, you get the broad group of fascists. There'll be a couple ones that are, like, you can live with them. And then you get down to, like, Klansmen, right? Like, that's a much smaller group. Neo-Nazis, Klansmen, it's a much smaller group. Pedophiles, predatory pedophiles, I guess is a good way. Openly, like the guy who ran for Congress, the libertarian guy. He was like a open pedophile libertarian in, I think it's South Carolina, maybe.
Where was this at?
You didn't see it? There's a couple of them. There's a couple this election of open pedophiles running for... I'm a pedophile. I like kids. But anyway, but yeah, you get down to these subgroups. I think once you get to, it's just a theory. Maybe there's like a very endangered ethnicity that I'm like, they only got like 3 of them. I'm saying they're the worst people ever because there's only 3 of them. But they're like, you fuckers, there's only 3 of us.
Yeah, they're like, well, guess what? We have a strong arm in the social media. Guess what, buddy? You're on our list.
Yeah, that doesn't work for the most oppressed people, like Native Americans. They're going to be like, yo, hello, what the fuck?
Right. Oh.
You just kill us off and then put that label and the least amount of people makes you the worst? Oh. See, this philosophy thing. See, Jordan Peterson doesn't have this capability to, like, try to hold his own thoughts. He doesn't have that self-criticism.
I don't know. That was one dude that I think had... Because I've listened to him on Rogan's, I've listened on Russell Brand's and stuff, right? And what I heard, and I don't agree with everything that he says, but he's a very articulate, well-spoken, and puts out his point. And like I said, I don't agree with him, but
he's really good at like inferring things without saying them. And then when you question him on it, he's like, "Well, that's not what I'm saying at all." Well,
I don't get that because but this is one of the points that
I can give you an example of it. He'll say something like he talked about women wearing makeup at work. He's like, well, they're obviously trying to. He's like, why are your lips turn red? Because you want to have sex, and that's why you'd put lipstick on. He's inferring that women are trying to be more sexually promiscuous at work to get ahead or something. And he's inferring that it's something that women are trying to do and that they should be criticized for or whatever, but he never actually says it. And then when you call him on it, he'll be like, "Oh well, that's not what I'm saying at all."
I think that's an insanely well. Okay, I'm gonna from a different thing here, but let me finish my first point is that, and that's a very well thought out opinion, by the way.
I'll watch a lot of Jordan Peterson.
Right. But there's a lot of opinions of folks that I've talked to, and then when as soon as I hear that, I'm like, oh, that hate monger, that guy's a total transphobe. I'm like, I don't get that from listening to that at all. I think there's a lot of sound bites that people throw out there, and they had a very, very, very skewed, like, you've listened to him, you have your own opinion, totally respect that. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of folks that haven't listened to him at all, and they just wrote that dude off as just being something that I don't think that he is. But I'm not here to defend him. I think, okay, so that was the first point I was saying. There is, gosh, who was it? Is it the guy who ran Penthouse? Not Larry, Bob Guccione. I remember seeing this interview when I was a teenager. Maybe that's why it stuck with me, because I was very impressionable. And this was a soundbite, right? But his whole thing was that everything, many things in our society are all geared towards wanting to have sex and procreate.
Uh-huh.
Wanting to wear nice clothes. wanting to look attractive, wanting to, as from a guy's point of view, smelling nice, all these other things. Like, if you take the fact that I am not trying to get laid today out of anything that you're doing, right? Mm-hmm. You can still get shit done, but I think you do that over a long period of time, and it does affect the way your outward appearance goes. Perfect point of this, a happily married man at a 7-Eleven at 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning. Mm-hmm. Okay? That fucker just rolled out of bed, does not give a shit about what he looks like, what his breath smells like, he just goes in there. You know why? Because he's not worried about getting laid. Mm-hmm. He doesn't give a shit. So I think the idea is that is in the wanting to be attractive and stuff. That might not be, that's somewhere in the background in a very, very small, minute level. I don't think that's like somebody being like, okay, I want to have sex today. I'm going to be promiscuous. I think it's just because they want to look nice. Mm-hmm. But I think the basis of that, going far back on a very, very, like on a macro level or micro mm-hmm. level. I should not use that word. I don't know what it means. That might be there. Maybe that was what he was alluding to. But I get what you're saying.
It's an interview he had with Vice. He talks about the guy's like, you think it's that women are inviting like sexual sexual invites at work when they wear makeup, and he's like, yeah, and he's like, well, why do you figure that? He's like, well, why do you wear lipstick? Make your lips red. Your lips turn red when you're in
yeah, that started back in Egypt, actually. I think it wasn't from this is what I heard. I'm not an Egyptologist or
Egyptologist.
Not an Egyptologist. Well, what was the word? Anthropologist.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Oh, fuck.
I use words.
But yeah, no,
it started with I think that started. I thought the rumor was that started with prostitutes, but as far as with lipstick.
I don't know, but it was just his thing on Vice. Jordan Peterson is he is, what do I call the band of the accused, the plight of the accused. So like he ignorantly misconstrued a bill in Canada that would be to say that you'd be criminally charged for misgendering someone, which was not at all what it would do. It had no criminal. It would just say that if you went around and I went on your computer and like I went on your Facebook all the time calling you the wrong gender, but I just called you a woman every day. Dave Durain, you're a woman on your Facebook every day, and I just kept harassing you, that would count as something that could be, you know what I mean, as a form of harassment, right? Because before they're just like, I'm just calling them a gender that's not theirs. Like, that's all it's doing. It's not saying that if you misgender someone on accident, you're going to get in trouble. But he turned it into that. And then he went around articulately, intelligently stating how ridiculous it would be to do what the law does not do. And he created and then he also went on that lady's, that one lady, the British interview he had.
That was a fucking horrible interview.
So that was the one that got him where she would do that.
So what you're saying is like...
Yes,
and he's like,
he's not saying that. Right, exactly. Yeah. And like how I said that he'll infer something, and then, that's not what I'm saying at all. That's the fucking trap. That's a trap, is when you lead him too far. The good interviews, such as, or the ones that don't go good, is the best way to put it. Yeah. For him, like Sam Harris interview, is where they actually ask him to elaborate. And the more you ask him to elaborate, the less controversial he gets, because he doesn't want to say something. He would rather infer something and get fucking right-wing and fucking misogynists, really, to get defending and get talking their shit, right? He'd rather just say stuff like, a good example is on his talks, there's a bunch of clips of people bringing up the Jewish question and asking him stuff about that. He's like, every time he just goes, I don't want to talk about that. You can find these clips where he doesn't tell these people like they're crazy or anything like that. And he's like, well, I'm just keeping conversation going or whatever. You know what I mean? So he loves to infer, but people who jump ahead like that lady did, they screw up their interviews really bad, and they give him a really big platform to just be like, oh, see, look how persecuted I am for my opinion that I never even gave, or that you're trying to criminalize me for a mistake, or because I don't want to call somebody by what they're obviously or appearing to him to not be.
Canada's a weird one, and I would be speaking out of ignorance because I did not read the bill. The only thing I know is just from the podcast that I listened to on Rogan's podcast. So that's very one-sided.
Rogan needs to bring on Sam Cedar. Sam Cedar, as he's defended Sam Cedar when he got fired from MSNBC and then got rehired. He defended him on there, but he needs to bring him on there because he brings on people like Jordan Peterson and Milo and fucking Jimmy Dore, who's from the left, right? But from the fucking dumb left. He doesn't bring on intelligent people like Sam Cedar or Kyle Kalinske or Cenk Uygur. I haven't seen them on there. And they're not from... I hate to call Jimmy Dore, but it's the dumb left of like conspiracy theorists and people who don't deal in actual... real politics, and just like Jordan Peterson, who doesn't deal in real politics, he's a professor who lives in like one of the most liberal places in the world, and then complains about diversity and liberalism.
I think they're like, comedian got sued for a joke, like, you know what I mean? They're not. It's not as free up there. It's kind of one of those things where I think it's gonna that. And I would love to go to Canada someday. I think there's a lot of great things that they do, but it's one of those things more when I was talking about where like. This energy seems familiar. You know, it's just.
I've seen good comedians. There's plenty of comedians that come from Canada, and I don't see. That's the thing, is that they'll take an individual story. And Tucker Carlson does this shit too. They'll take an individual story of like, oh, they stopped this kindergarten class, wouldn't let boys play with Legos. Because they're men and they're trying to teach them about patriarchy. So they'll find this one individual example. Ooh, a comedian got sued. Are there swaths of comedians being sued? Are there people being thrown in jail for misgendering people? No. But it's the cult of the accused of people who are like, well, let me pose this situation to you. Wouldn't that suck for being locked up for calling people girls who are actually boys?
Right.
Like,
well, I think when it comes to, this is the thing that I would worry about, and it's a very interesting take about it. Is that when it comes to anything legal, once there's a precedent for it, then I think that's what everybody's kind of that's always worried about. It would always I would assume, and I know nothing about this shit, that everything gets looked at a case-by-case basis, but I think once once it happens once, then you...
But that's so funny that their priorities are in something that's an individual thing. Well, you know, if a comedian gets sued here, then we have a slippery slope. But they're the ones who will, like, rally against black people when black people are getting killed by unarmed... They're getting killed unarmed all the time. Like, no one's killing comedians. No one's even arresting comedians, you know what I mean? But these guys, they've made a career off of criticizing black people for how they protest and shit like that. Right? Well, this shit happens every day. But then they're like, well, if someone starts regulating how I speak, well, they start a crusade about it. But when shit is actually happening to real people, they want to criticize those people. It's because they're privileged fucking dicks. They're privileged, man.
I would think... I think well, gosh, what was it? Armstrong made this really awesome post. A lot of people making this post were like, so you guys are pissed about Nike, but you're okay with priest fucking kids, right? So it got me thinking about
But they're not all okay with it, right? There's a certain ones who are, I guess.
I think it's what it is it's what are you focused on, right? And this is the thing.
That is a good question. Why was that so much more? I mean, I've seen that meme too. I rolled my eyes at it.
Yeah.
I've rolled my eyes at a lot of these memes. I mean, you know what side I fall on it.
Yeah.
But I don't I haven't been involved in the debate at all. I've avoided it completely. But it does strike me.
Really funny. Well, this is the weird thing. Is it's
why haven't people talked about the Catholic Church as much as
Nike? Yeah.
Nike.
So
says Mike. I mean, Catholic Church has money, but Nike has money.
I think they got more money than Nike. I'm pretty sure they got a couple.
Yeah, I guess they're not advertising. They're not advertising the kid rape as much as Nike's advertising Colin Kaepernick. So I guess it does make sense.
Yeah, you're right. Advertising. It depends on who you
It does fall. Okay, it does make sense, I guess, but
so,
it does.
But, it's
why are people not talking about it?
Think of it this way, and this is like human beings, right? You take 100 of us. Are we all going to like the same music? No. Are we all going to like the same type of entertainment, art, literature? Things in life, like no, why? Because we have different focuses, different spheres of influence that affect us, right? Depending on what we do, and I think that kind of like it could be. I think it's not a productive thing to, let's say, if I really, really want to get pissed off about being Mexican on my mother's side, to really focus on the freaking atrocities from Spain from 400 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then like Columbus Day and all this other shit, right? Now I could be like, if I spend enough time on it, I will be furious and enraged at anything that I see that anybody who was like, "No, we should still have Columbus Day and fucking fuck you" and everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's between me and him, me and that person, right? That imaginary person that I just made up. Now, if I go, you're worried about, let's say, you're focused more, let's say, sake of argument, Catholic priest and everything, because whether you or somebody that you know that's really close to you was affected to that personally, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I go, I'm like, so you're going to fucking march with me against Columbus Day, right? I'm like, well, it's not really what I'm focused on. Okay, so really, so you don't give a fuck? Is that it? And then you come back with like, well, what about the Catholic, you know? And the thing is, like, we have different things. Like, okay.
This is called intersectionality. Is intersectionality of the oppressed, and like you do need to be supportive of both. And
but that's the weird human thing.
So
right?
there are people who are intersectional, people who do care about both, right?
Right. Yeah, totally.
There might be a right winger who's even against the Kaepernick thing, but was for the Catholic, or not for Jesus Christ, but is personally affected by. But was personally affected by the Catholic Church thing, you know.
Right.
But and they were for it. So yeah, there is that intersection. That's why I said at the beginning, like, well, how do we know? It's an intersectional thing of it. You know what got me about the whole Catholic Church thing? There was a guy in NPR during that who was going on about how he was talking about it like very matter of fact and news like, right? About how this is going to end up bringing down a pillar of Western society. It's that this sex scandal is now undermined. How can the church be talking about how we should be treating immigrants when they just used immigrants basically as fuck dolls? Is basically how he put. That's not how he put it. I put it. What he's saying.
That's Derrick Blanton spin on that.
Yeah, that he's like, how can we say that this is how they should treat children when this is how they did it? He's like, and this is really going to undermine their moral authority. And I was like, no, you fucking moron. The moral authority was the purpose to justify all this shit. The reason why you can sit back and say, well, or do all this stuff and compartmentalize it and tell people, you're the fucking voice of God and no one's allowed to question you, and you're allowed to do whatever you want because you're the fucking voice of God. Now, I just want people to push that out to anything that's telling you that they're like the moral authority on it. You know what I mean? If they're not saying, go out further, expand beyond me, I'm not the end-all be-all, I'm not the judgment of right and wrong. Like, it's just so obvious that was the purpose of it, not the downfall of it. It was to cover up all the shit, all the wars, all the not letting women vote, not letting people don't look like you own property, not letting children be autonomous, like having sex with whoever you want, your coworkers, anybody who's dependent on you to have sex with them. The whole purpose of the moral authority was to justify that. The whole purpose of having a church, of saying, like, I'm the only one who can tell you what this book says and, tell you what God says.
Right.
The purpose is to justify it. You get rid of all the building and all the money, you can still go home and do all that shit.
Yeah.
You can still have a community center or whatever, and you don't have to pay a fucking white dude a bunch of money to rape your kids and drive a convertible and preach.
Well, this is why human beings can't have anything nice. That's the one thing that I could... That continues to hold true for me. Because, like, I always wonder, like, how did the church get so much power? And then it was, I think, a Carlin's podcast. It was the Prophets of Doom. And he starts off talking about, like, when the Roman Empire fell, because it fell in the West before it fell in the East, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, imagine if we're here in Colorado and we get a message from the federal government, like, everything from north and south of us on west, right? Or actually, D.C. is like, hey, listen, the United States is pulling back to the original 13 colonies. So we're not going to maintain the roads anymore. We're not going to do the power infrastructure. So best of luck to you guys. All right, have fun with that. See ya. Right? And then you're like, well, the fucking roads are going to be gone within a year. You know? Who's going to wait a second. Who was... Fuck. So at that point, you needed, like... Because you had that structure, keeping order, for better or worse. So when that leaves, everybody's like, fuck, who's going to be in charge of that? So I think that's why when the Catholic Church kind of stepped in and filled all those roles. Okay. Not against that just so far. But once again, human beings can't have anything nice. Mm-hmm. And so you do things like, it's just, I guess what's the other thing that holds true, and as we're rounding third on this, is that only a Sith believes in absolutes, and it's one of those things. Well, they fed all these people in the homeland like that. That doesn't mean you get to fuck even one kid.
Yeah,
all right?
Yeah. All the good you did doesn't justify the one kid fucking.
Yeah, and the thing is that we could have this very legitimate, honest discussion with the best intentions with everybody. There's still going to be somebody who's like, so not even one kid if they feed like 1 million homeless people.
Do you know how many? Joe Paterno shared a national championship. You're saying that we should take down the statue with Joe? Fuck your fucking football team. Yeah. Oh
dreams?
God.
Is that it now?
Yeah.
You're not against dreams? Somebody who's trying like that. Oh man, we can't have anything nice. So I know we were gonna go through a lot of political ads and everything and kind of make fun of them and everything.
Are we
so
still gonna watch this one?
I think as we should probably close out with this because
I would love for us. So I've watched this many times because I know this. He's running for Congress, or I'm sorry, this guy was running for Congress in the primary and he lost in the Democratic primary.
Okay.
I knew him personally. I had a lot of friends that worked on his campaign, and I think you'll enjoy it. It's almost a reaction video where I get to see your reaction to.
Okay, all right.
I'm pretty excited.
Let's do this, and no, thank you. And this is for Levi Tillman. Was running for.
He was running for Congress.
Was running, not anymore.
He was running as Jason Crow at the time.
Oh, okay.
Feel free to pause this if you need to discuss anything that's going on.
All right.
Any questions? Anything?
All right, let's go.
He'll be in school, and
Let me
Donald
start from the beginning here.
Okay.
In just a few years, he'll be in school, and Donald Trump wants to give his teacher a gun?
More students have been killed in school shootings in 2018 than U.S. troops in combat operations. We need common sense gun control, but that's not enough. There are 310 million guns in the U.S. and millions of assault-style weapons.
I'm Levi Tillman. Washington needs more doers and innovators. That's why I'm running for U.S. Congress. I'm calling on Congress to stop talking past each other and try something new. Empower schools and teachers with non-lethal self-defense tools like this can of pepper spray. Pepper spray doesn't cost much, and it can be safely stored in a break glass in case of emergency cabinet. But it's powerful and won't accidentally kill a kid. Trust me, this will stop anyone. It's incredibly painful, and now I just can't see anything.
It's like the Shawshank Redemption.
Wow, that's intense. For less than $1 per person in the U.S., we can have a secured canister of pepper spray in every classroom in America. It's just unbearable. It's like lava in your eyes.
I can't believe this guy didn't win. Oh my god.
Okay, I'm gonna share a
I'll go to the
backstory.
map for our kids and community.
I'm gonna share a backstory.
Insiders Incorporated.
So the sad thing. Hold on. The sad thing is, his whole campaign was super media based, trying to get something like this.
Right.
This wasn't the first idea he had.
Oh, really?
The first idea he had, and I don't think anybody's talked about this before. The first idea he had was his staff told me, and the staff told him that this was dumb. Like, no, you shouldn't do this.
Right.
Was that he was exploring other ways to stop school shootings, and the other idea. What else? What do you think besides pepper spray and guns could you stop a school shooting with?
I'm going to say robots, but I'm just being sarcastic.
Oh, that is right. It's not far.
Okay.
You are not far from it.
Whoa.
I'll give you a hint. Smithers, release the hounds. He was gonna get a big jacket on and have a freaking German Shepherd or something go chase him down and tackle him. He was looking for he was just reaching for whatever, and he's like, and I guess he came, but I won't say which staff member in case he ever sees this, but one of them told me, like, I told him that was not a good idea, and he got super pissed. But I guess he went and found something else when this came out.
You gotta find something like, you don't want a German Shepherd trying to attack you, man.
Thing is, when this came out, I swear, I was sitting there, and he's sitting there talking to him, like, I was like, he's like, when he pulls out the pepper spray, I was expecting, like, German Shepherd come on, and that's when I met Cujo. Like,
Jesus.
He said he pulled out pepper spray. I'm like, oh, good God.
You know what's so weird? I've been wanting to talk about, do bits on this, and maybe I will because of the fervor's kind of driving down a little bit. But okay, but the reason why I wouldn't, because fucking school shootings are fucking horrible, right? But when they said maybe we'll arm the teachers, I'm like, okay. My first wife was a school teacher.
If you know one teacher, you know how. Just one. You only need to know one teacher.
Hey, listen.
If you can even remember high school, a lot of people can't.
Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, my ex-wife, I would say there is a 70% chance that she will handle that absolutely responsibly, right? I've also seen her when she gets really fucking crazy, and you do not want that bitch armed, all right? A lot of the other teachers, there's some of them, absolutely I would trust. All right, they're fucking capable, super smart, and everything like that, right? Like I say, like probably a lot of gun owners, like legally registered gun owners who really take a lot of pride in what they do, right? Not just collecting and getting and fucking stacking an armament. There are some, however, that absolutely I would not want them with like holding a number 2 pencil or sharpened number 2 pencil with anything for longer. Like, there's so many bad things that can go along with that. Like,
just preemptively, like. I think you don't want to send your kids to a place with people who are okay with murdering them.
Yeah, there was this really interesting, even like I was telling you about that pod with that Larry Sharp guy, that guy was the libertarian runner for New York and stuff. Interesting idea where he said like that you wanted to allow concealed carry for any of the teachers and stuff in there. His idea was one, because you have to jump through a shitload of hoops in order to get that. They don't just give them out to anybody. It's not Arizona. Haha, just kidding. All right. But if a shooter who's planning these things are premeditated and you don't know who is armed and who isn't, there's a less likely to want to hit that as opposed to, let's say, if you know that everybody's unarmed except for the one resource officer that you have there, right? So that's that you just adding an element of the unknown because most they're going to try to get they're I don't know, but either way, that's
you
getting
add unpredictability to the thing.
Yeah, exactly. But
gotta take the school shooters by surprise.
Yeah, exactly. But is there more of this? Hold on. But this was the most amazing freaking.
His face is still up there looking at us like that.
Oh my God! Hold on for a second. This
Levi's been sitting there looking at us. He's the third man in our group.
Folks who want to talk about
Levi Tillman.
Levi Tillman taking a pepper spray to the face for your safety, trying to show exactly how painful it is. Which I would have done that.
Levi, what will you do for our vote? I'll take a bukkake of pepper spray in my face if you'll just vote me into Congress.
Just do it. I swear I want to help. Oh my God! Hold on, let me.
I'll get bit by a dog.
See anything. I just see light.
Robots. I'll get zapped by a futuristic fucking Dalek for your vote.
Oh my God.
You know what the thing is? It's funny. Like obviously, that's a fucking great video. And how many? Where were you at?
What else is going on in this video after that? Oh, it's probably just more explaining.
Yeah, exactly.
Him talking, children running.
Hey, listen, Levi. Like, if you want to
his
make
priorities.
Dude, if you could say that while getting pepper sprayed, I'm sure you would have got everybody like staying tuned. They'd listen. No, 250,000 views on that, and
that's just on his personal one. The Vice one's been seen millions of times.
That's freaking.
People their takes on this has been seen millions of times.
That is absolutely.
Vic Berger recently did it too on Super Deluxe. If you don't watch Vic Berger, you need to. He's one of the best.
That's awesome, man. I don't think I could end this show any better than that. That was freaking awesome. And I actually, you know what? It also, in case for some reason, because if somebody on your feed sees this and they're like, they're making fun of you, Levi, and he goes on there and he's like, motherfuckers. I applaud the fact that anybody will actually try to make a solution to it, and I think that's I
at least the export. And the sad thing is that he went for any and all solutions. He just had to find one, the solution, the thing.
Yeah,
that's the thing about candidates, dude. They always think there's a thing. Yeah. There's a thing that's going to win them.
A silver bullet that's going to.
I don't want to throw people under the bus too hard, but let me think of some of the things people have had. I'll have a press release. That'll be my thing. I'll have a press conference. That'll be my thing. I'll say this on Facebook. That'll be my thing.
Right.
You ain't going to have a CNN thing moment. Guess what? The presidents don't even have that. Like, where they have that big CNN moment, it's still not as much as matter as much as they think it does.
Yeah, exactly.
But these politicians like that dude or any politician, anyone running for RTD board, any fucking person running for anything thinks everything they do is so much more inflated. Any misspelling on Facebook.
Right.
They're such egomaniac children when they're running for office.
Yeah, the only one who doesn't do that, who went the complete opposite direction, is I don't give a fuck what about my spelling is. I don't give a shit.
It's Donald Trump.
Send. Boom. Oh, you said something really inflammatory. All right. Zoom.
And they don't learn anything from it. They don't see any. They don't notice how. Like I remember days before. I'll throw Bernard under the bus on this one. Days before the last election, Bernard, like, I posted something on Facebook that made some people mad, and he's like, "Hey, we take that down." Like, and that's one thing I tell my cans, like, don't police my Facebook because, like, I do what I want. The reason they hire me a lot of times because my social media presence. So I had said, no, I was like, dude, it doesn't matter. It's for one, mail-in ballots. Most of your thing, it's the day before election, right?
Yeah.
Like 20% max of your vote's going to come in that day.
Yeah.
The election's done.
Right.
Like, it's done. What's going to happen has already happened. There's nothing you can stop by now. But they'll still be, like, going back editing posts on Facebook. They'll be caring about everything that can't actually change. Nothing can change it, you know, by that point. But,
this
like...
pie's already baked, fucker.
Exactly. Exactly. But it's not just that. It's that this whole time, any social media post, like, there is a thing you could post on social media that would end your campaign.
Right.
And there's a thing that would make you look good. Like, but... what looking good does and how that translates into people actually voting for you, it's completely unrelated. 110%.
I'm sure it probably. I mean, because they're still thinking about the old metric when there was only three TV stations, and whatever exposure you had to be super careful about. Like, who was it they were talking? Oh, I think it was Stanhope. It was on Rogan's podcast. I kind of listen to more podcasts because I keep a reference in that. But they were talking about Roseanne. And they go, you know what? Or I don't know if it was Stan. Either way, he was like, if I was her press agent at that point, I'm like, listen, I need you to get back on that Ambien. Here's some booze. Here's Twitter. Keep going. And like, why? Keep saying to the point where that way everybody's like, oh, they will forget about that other thing.
Exactly.
That's kind of what Trump does.
John Oliver mentioned it too about Trump. It's the bed of nails.
Yeah.
If you step on a nail, goes through your foot. Step on a bed of nails, the pressure's been put around so they don't notice you just lying every single day because you're lying every single day.
Right.
And so, and candidates don't get that. Like, if you have one post a month and it's like something really awful, like, it's one thing, but these candidates can go out and just say the most blatantly racist stuff, and as long as they keep it going, like, it's no big deal.
Right.
They don't pay attention. Like, Trump's the best at it. He's the absolute best because it's pro wrestling. He doesn't pay attention to the haters.
Right.
Because you pay attention to the haters, you give it credence or
whatever.
whatever.
The more people are booing, that means the more people are watching, the more they're talking about it.
Yep.
Exactly.
And you boo if they boo and you go down and you're like, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's when you're gonna go away.
Yeah.
That's not how politics works anymore. Like, you don't apologize. And this has actually been true for Democrats forever. I try to explain this to my conservative family. They don't get it. They're like, why didn't Al Franken do this? Like, did he even have to apologize when he's not even in government anymore? They're so pissed about Al Franken, right? Like, Democrats apologize and they are sent away forever. Republicans will apologize that your feelings were hurt and keep on going.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to step down. They're not going to do anything. There's no recourse. And it's because they realize that, like, once you apologize, like, that's when you acknowledge the wrongdoing, and there's something that should come from that, right?
Right.
And if Democrats want to win, like, they're going to have to just stop being sorry for bad shit.
Yeah, that or, I don't know. I don't consider myself I haven't even looked at the candidates this year, which I've probably, as we get closer, man, if you want to do another episode where just talk about each candidate, I'll
that'd be
actually
fun.
do some homework and be like, okay.
When you get your ballot, it'd be fun.
Yeah.
A couple months.
Yeah, that would be awesome. Because there's so
October.
much of the stuff that's just so, I don't know.
There's going to be a lot of ballot measures.
Yeah.
There was last time we did this. There's a lot of ballot measures. There's going to be more this time.
Yeah, the one where we they decided to take slavery out of the
That's
book.
back again.
Cool. Did they word it better this time?
Yeah, that's so funny. That's in every press release about how, like, people didn't know whether they were voting for or against slavery. Like,
yeah, exactly.
How do I just say no to slavery? But this time it just says, it says something to the effect of, like, Does the Colorado Constitution endorse slavery? Yes or no?
Right.
Do you endorse slavery? Like, yes or no?
Exactly.
Is that clear? I do believe this year. So
Yeah, okay, because the way it was before is like, do you not want to have slavery not be a part of this indefinitely? Like what?
like everyone thinks they voted against slavery. They just don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Let me ask my girlfriend, see what she thinks. Yeah.
There's a bunch of oil and gas ones.
What's the Uber one or the rideshare one? Wasn't there something they were trying to do something with rideshare?
That was a bill. They were trying to classify rideshare drivers as independent contractors. That was during the session, but that's
I thought
not.
they were.
They are, but this is to classify them like to. Right now, it's not that they're classified as independent contractors. That nothing's been stated. It's open range, Wild West. You know what I mean? And once you classify them one way, they're stuck that way, and they're not allowed to organize. They're not allowed to certain legal rights. I'll find out with this accident I just had. But it prevents them from getting like being able to organize and get better compensation and stuff like that.
Yeah, I figured when I saw that, I'm like, this must have come from the rideshare companies.
It came from Americans for Prosperity. The Koch brothers are the ones who are out pushing it. But it's not just for that. It's because they want to not have to employ people, wage labor.
Right. And
they want to be able to work you to death and not be able to not have to pay you a living wage unless you work a shit ton of. So they've been passing this around the nation, and it's gotten to the Democrats here in Colorado. And she's north of you, Senator, the lady my roommate primaried, actually was the sponsor on the bill with a couple of Republicans and was going around getting Democrats, and I was having to go around calling them out, getting them to pull their names off of it. But there's still at least 2 Democrats who have their names on it. They're just fucking brazen. She's brazen too. She's on the side of the oil and gas companies. There's a couple that came out saying they were siding with them on the ballot measures, so they're bought and paid for.
More likely.
It's clear.
This is the whole thing is, you know what's so funny about the rideshare independent contractor thing? The more weed that Elon Musk smokes, by the way, I'm sure I thought if he only took one hit on that podcast. But if he got really, really baked, I'm like, holy shit, he's about to invent some crazy motherfucking stuff, man. Once those the autopilot, which they were testing in Arizona, and they were actually doing really well until that one crazy person jumped in front of a car.
There's a drunk lady was walking and they hit her.
Right, so it's one of those.
And then they had to take. I had people on my feed who were like, "We gotta take these things off the road." I'm like, "Wait, time out. Did it hit that person while it was texting? Did it hit that person because it was mad at them? Did it hit this person? Because I'm trying to think of all the reasons I have hit someone in my car before.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because of some of my robotic sensors, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, people hit people all the time, but because this one robot did it.
Right, because it's new technology. But this is the thing once that thing goes, once they really, really get it down, and it's getting better and better and better, it's just growing exponentially, you can kiss all that rideshare goodbye.
Oh, I can guarantee they already have that those cars are better than humans.
Yeah.
I know they have to have a human sit next to them, and they have to correct them a lot, but I bet you if you had all of them and no humans, tell me which one would have more accidents.
Oh, yeah.
Come on.
That shit's going to go away. The only... I wanted to go into it because it was a bit that I heard on an open mic, and it was a really good bit out in Arizona, but I'll tell you when we stop. But, yeah, so, like, all this stuff, like, oh, you're all independent contractor. I'm like, well, what does it matter now? So, like, we're all fucked anyways, so... Message of hope is what I'm saying, guys. If there's one thing that I want you to take away from this podcast, let's see, is this guy. I think this guy says it all, basically.
It's American politics. Welcome.
Yep, exactly.
Now you know I didn't want to work in politics in 2018.
Fair enough, man.
Working as a independent contractor at Lyft. Exactly. Happily.
Levi Tillman taking it in the face for all of us out there to try to make it better tomorrow. I want to thank you guys for listening. I want to thank you, Sir Derrick Blanton, for coming on the show. It's always a great conversation. Thank you so much. You folks, if they want to get pissed off at your posts, where do they find you on Facebook?
You know, I'm on Facebook and Instagram. That's the only thing I'm really on. I've been told by people keep recognizing me, and so I guess I have a following. it's some sort, you'll just have to find me at my house because I'm not doing anything important until 2018.
Well,
I'm just trying to escape fame.
You guys want to bug him on his social media on Facebook, Derrick Blanton, and get him to start up his Controlling the Conversation podcast again. So that way he'll have something other to do besides get hit by cars on Lyft. So sign it off for the Disjointed Podcast. I'm Dave Germain.
I'm Derrick Blanton.
You guys have a great week.